Greetings all! We are in Nokesville, Virginia, the Americans in Wartime Experience open house, and I have found a couple of rather unique vehicles for this side of the water. Now, World of Tanks has the Panzer 58, which is a prototype with a 20-pounder, but Mr. Taylor Dunn here, like Swift, less female, is going to tell us just what it is that we are standing in front of.
All right, so behind us here, we have a Panzer 61. It's the updated younger brother of the Panzer 58. It's armed with a Swiss licensed copy of the British L7 105mm gun, which I have the ammunition for right in front of me. And this is a tank pretty much designed for Swedish needs. They took orders of them starting in the late 60s through the 70s to a total of about 170, after which the Swiss government, in a specific publication known as Weltwaffe, found that there were many problems with the tank that had major flaws. In 1992, there was a program for upgrading the tank that started with, upgrading the fire control system, deleting those problems, increasing maintenance, increasing reliability, and that upgrade program resulted in the Panzer 68-88, which is just to my left over here. And these tanks served into the first few years of the 2000s, by which they were all taken out of service and replaced with German Leopard 2s.
So do you have any idea? Well, the entire rest of the Western world is, generally speaking, with the exception of the French, because they're French, buying Centurions or Leopards, or maybe M60s if you're in with the Americans. Why did the Swiss build their own tank?
Well, the Swiss, as a country, really desired to be independent of the rest of the world. And that shows with this because they actually have Centurions in their arsenal, yet they sort of got rid of them in favor of these tanks. And in fact, there is actually a Swiss Centurion at the same open house. And they really desired the ability to have their own tanks for their own people and not have to rely on outside sources. And it turned out that might have not been the best thing because these tanks didn't end up being the most reliable, and they had problems that relying so heavily on in-house production had its downsides.
So you've been in and out of this tank and presumably a few others. Have you any observations of what makes this tank unique, perhaps, from your experience?
Well, inside this tank, as seen in one of your videos, there is the elevation system for the gun is at the back of the gun compared to the front of the gun, which makes it entirely impassable for the loader or the commander or the gunner to switch from one side of the turret to the other because there is a large obstruction in the way. And in addition to that, the gunner and the commander are pretty much so close together that neither of them can move comfortably compared to, say, even sitting inside a Sherman. A Sherman has more room in this, and a Sherman is over 20 years younger. So I feel like that this tank really tries to achieve a lot, and it falls short in some places, especially in crew comfort, and especially with the heater unit. You're in Switzerland, it's cold, it's snowing, and you don't want your main gun going off when you try to get warm. So I think there's some things that make it special, but there's also some things that make me rather be in a Centurion, which has way more room, especially the one here. Just the amount of room that's inside a Centurion compared to inside one of these is it's phenomenal how much more you would rather be in a Centurion than inside one of these.
Okay, I'm going to do a quick topic change. You want to talk about your uniform. So yours is obviously a lot cleaner and less faded than this one. How long would it take somebody to go, I got a nice new uniform, it looks like that, and then it goes to this?
Depends if you want to wash it or not. On average, you're going to have a lot of fadage within a year, but they just got new ones. And also the infantry and tankers, they never own the uniforms, so you would trade it in. It's not like the US uniforms where you keep the uniform afterwards. You check it in with you with your sidearm and everything. So I don't know why, but yeah, I got lucky and won the lottery and got a nice fresh new uniform.
I haven't seen a modern army that still has puttees or shin guards, whatever those things are.
Well, they don't use them currently. These are from the period.
Well, still, 1990s.
Yeah. But I mean, it is helpful because it's a nice new fall day out here, but it's still wet and it still protects us from the elements because it's a whole lot easier to peel off a wet gaiter than it is to change a couple pairs of socks and a wet pair of boots. So
especially nice when you're maneuvering in the tank and you hit your shin. It's a nice little shin guard.
I can
it's
see
very
that.
Nice.
Yeah. Have you been to Switzerland?
I have not been.
Not had the chance yet.
Oh well, pity. Kind of curious. I mean, you got all the redness here, and I've been to Switzerland. It doesn't seem to be much red except for the roofs of the houses.
Well, this is called Alpenflaga. It is a specific Swiss camouflage. It is partially modeled after an experimental, I believe, SS camouflage from the end of the war that the Swiss managed to get copies of and that the Allies weren't able to intercept before the Swiss were able to get them across the border. It's modified from that, and it's principally designed on fighting in the Alps, where the entry and exit points from Switzerland to get in and out, where they would be defending from, are on alpine roads.
Okay.
So in the fall, in the spring, when the leaves are coming in or changing, this helps with that, and it helps the troops to blend in with the background, because in static defense. So in a static position where the Swiss would be defending from, you sort of just blend in.
Gotcha. Right, well, thank you very much. There we go. Taylor and his friend, and 2 Panzers, but not the type that you might think of.